Vatican City is a city-state in Rome, Italy, and seat and home to Pope Francis and Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI. It is a true monument to the influence of Catholicism on architecture. In the Vatican, you'll come across Vatican museums, which shelter several ancient Roman sculptures, including Laocoon and his sons, and the Sistine Chapel, which houses Michelangelo's famous roof, all within the borders of the smallest country in the world, easily reachable on foot in just 40 minutes. The residents of the Vatican City are less than 1,000 and only cover 110 acres. But it also has a multi-million-dollar appropriation and an incredibly complex history. To understand how this all works, one will have to go through centuries of religious texts. The popes ruled over a country called the Papal States, which encompass large parts of modern Italy. During this 1,000-year reign, the popes built St. Peter's Basilica in the 4th century and rebuilt it in the 16th century. Built over the tomb of the Apostle Peter, it is the second largest religious building after the Yamoussoukro Basilica in Christianity, and built a wall around the base of a hill known as the Vatican, on which St. Peter stood. But the neighboring kingdom of Italy believed that Rome would become an important capital for their country. The new pagan government conquered all the papal states except the small part of the Vatican, and a kind of Cold War broke out between the government and the church. The popes declined to acknowledge the supremacy of the Kingdom of Italy, and the Vatican remained outside this supremacy. Pope Pius IX declared himself a prisoner of the Vatican. Even after 60 years, the popes repelled leaving the Vatican and surrendering to the sovereignty of the Italian government. Whenever the Italian armed forces came to St. Peter's Square, the popes refrained from giving blessings. This brings us to Benito Mussolini, then Prime Minister of Italy, who got tired of the pope's incessant complaints about his voluntary imprisonment. So Mussolini figured he could score political points by making a deal with the church. The altercation was brought to an end with the signing of the Lateran Pact of 1929 by the Italian government and the church. After the authorization of the Lateran Pact, the papacy acknowledged Rome as the capital of Italy. Italy also acknowledged the Pope's supremacy over Vatican City and assured the Pope of complete independence. The church was recompensed with over $90 million for the Papal States. The Vatican used the money as initial investments to regrow its finances. And today, Vatican City has everything you would expect a country to own. It has its government, making its laws enforced by its police force, putting people who break them in the Vatican's prison. It also has its bank that is also known as Institute for Religious Works, IOR, and prints its stamps and issues its license plates. But despite all these national characteristics, Vatican City is not quite like other countries. The Vatican Palace is the Pope's residence within the city walls. The Holy See is the name of the government of the Roman Catholic Church, headed by the Pope as Bishop of Rome. Thus, the authority of the Holy See encompasses all Catholics throughout the world. The Holy See has been based in the Vatican City since the signing of the Lateran Pact that allowed the Pope to exercise his universal authority. Each time a Pope dies or retires, it is a whole long and isolated process to determine which of the bishops will occupy the Holy See next. When a new Pope is to be elected, the Vatican follows an unchanged ancient practice that has been for hundreds of years. To become a Pope, 1. You must be a Catholic man. Yes, a regular Catholic man can become the Pope, but the cardinals prefer to choose one of the cardinals for the position. So the chances that a regular man becomes a Pope is very slim, but becoming a cardinal will increase your chances of becoming Pope. 2. To become a cardinal, becoming a priest is the first step. Becoming a priest in the Catholic Church is not like filling out a form and going for an interview and voila, you're ordained. It is a whole training process that requires educational qualifications of a degree in Catholic philosophy, with a master's degree in divinity, and an unmarried man ready to live a life of celibacy. By meeting these guidelines and having been serving in the church, you can officially become a priest. Number 3. The next step is becoming a bishop. While priests oversee churches, bishops oversee cathedrals, with several local churches under their jurisdiction. To move further into bishophood, you will need to wait until a bishop near you retires by the age of 75 or dies earlier to make room for you. You can't apply to bishophood because there is a list of select priests that is updated every year by the present bishops in that area. This list is updated based on people the bishop believe will be great substitutes for them. This list is then delivered to the Apostolic Nuncio, who is the ambassador of the Pope in your country. The Nuncio selects 3 priests, examines them carefully, organizes interviews, and chooses the priests he deems most suitable. But that's not all, as he sends his selection to Vatican City and the Episcopal Congress there, reviewing possible nominations from all over the world. This process can take as long as months or even years because the Pope could reject the candidate chosen by the Episcopal Congress. Number 4. The last ladder to climb on the journey to becoming a Pope is becoming a cardinal. Cardinals are bishops with additional titles and obligations, coupled with the responsibility of appointing a new Pope after the old one dies or retires. The one requirement for becoming a cardinal is for the current Pope to ordain you as one. After becoming a cardinal, you have to wait it out for the Pope to either retire or die in service. When either or both happens, then the conclave voting process begins. The conclave voting process is a full lock-in process where cardinals below 80 years of age are locked in the Sistine Chapel until the day the Pope's successor is elected. The conclave voting procedure is confidential. The world will only be aware of the outcome, but the insiders know the whole process behind the conclave. The elections are not always the same because the former Pope might leave guidelines on how he desires his successor to be elected. During the conclave, the cardinals are not allowed to have any contact with the outside world. They have no access to newspapers, television, telephone, or social media, and the world must have no contact with them. Any cardinal who breaks the rules faces a threat of dismissal. They all take a vow of silence, and not even their assistants are allowed to reveal what is going on. Before the conclave begins, the Sistine Chapel is thoroughly searched for recording equipment and hidden cameras. Members of the cardinals gather in the Sistine Chapel and only come out of their isolation after electing a new pope. One voting will take place in the first afternoon. They then move on to 4 votes a day, which is 2 votes in the morning and 2 votes in the afternoon. For a candidate to emerge as the new pope, he needs 2/3 of the votes cast. Each cardinal writes their choice on a piece of paper and folds it in half. They then proceed one by one to the altar and place the ballots in a ballot box. The papers are shuffled, counted, opened, and examined by 3 cardinals. The 3rd cardinal threads a needle and threads it through the counted votes. After each morning and afternoon session, the ballots get burned. In 2005, Pope Benedict XVI needed just 4 ballots to be elected successor to Pope John Paul II. However, voting usually takes a few days. After the whole ballot process, the ballot papers are treated with certain chemicals and burned, which comes out of a specially installed chimney in the roof of the Sistine Chapel. A chemical is mixed with the paper to produce black smoke if the vote is not final, or white smoke if a new pope is elected. But even the white smoke looks dark against a clear sky. To avoid possible confusion, white smoke is accompanied by the ringing of bells. In 2005, however, the official responsible for approving the bells was temporarily busy with other duties, causing a period of confusion as white smoke rose and the bells of St. Peter went silent. When this happens, usually thousands of people gather outside to wait for the news. Then a cardinal dean emerges from the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica and announces the election of a new pope. After the pope has been chosen, ecclesiastical robes are prepared for the elect to be presented to the faithful from a balcony overlooking St. Peter's Square. An elected pope can refuse to accept an office, but it is not scriptural to turn the Holy Spirit down. Inasmuch as a few popes are overjoyed to become popes, so many new popes are overwhelmed with emotions after the election that the first room they enter to dress for the balcony scene is commonly referred to as the Room of Tears. Newly elected popes remain in the leadership of the Church for life, or until retirement, as does Benedict XVI. So while popes come and go, the Holy See is eternal. The Holy See does not only refer to the throne, but all the rules the Church abides by. When Mussolini made the Lateran Pact, he technically handed over the Vatican City State to the Holy See. Although the Vatican City State itself has a governing body of government, made up of cardinals ordained by the Pope himself, the King of the Vatican City State can override their decisions at any time and for any reason. But who is this unheard of king? Even though the king and the Pope are in 2 different positions, they are held by the same person. This means that when a new pope is elected, he automatically becomes the king and the pope, and this makes Vatican City the only elected and non-hereditary monarchy in the world. This dual role makes the dissolution of the Vatican City almost impossible, because the Pope acts as King of the Vatican City or as Pope of the Holy See, depending on what situation it is. The papacy also gives the citizens of the Vatican City State passports that can be accepted in other countries, even if those passports are from an establishment and not a country. No one in Vatican City is born a citizen. In other countries, being born in the country automatically qualifies you as a citizen of that country. But this doesn't apply to the Vatican City. The only way to become a Vatican citizen is by being ordained by the king. And for that to happen, you must work for the Pope. And the moment your work ends with the Pope, your citizenship status will be revoked. This is the reason for the very small number of citizens compared to other countries. All those who work for the Pope are either cardinal, Swiss bodyguards, or other church-related works. Therefore, it is best to think of the Vatican City as a kind of sovereign headquarters that gives its leaders temporary citizenship rather than a true country. It is not the citizens of the Vatican City that attracts the world to it, but for the numerous Catholics in most of the countries in the world. And that brings us to the end of this video. Let us know in the comments section which of these secrets surprised you the most. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click on the notification bell to get notified when we post a new video.